Hello world, it's 20 past 8 in the morning and it's the 20th of May 2014. Moon's in the middle of Aquarius, it's coming up to trine Mercury and sextile Venus all day, as well as squaring Saturn, sextiling Uranus. So, the moon's pretty busy today. So, it's going to be one of those days where a lot of things get done in the short term, medium term. The sun's on the Pleiades at 29 degrees Taurus, and in about 19 hours, the sun will move into Gemini. Great. So everything's moving, everything's ticking over. In that light, I thought I'd take a step aside and do another one of the planets. And this time I want to look on the astronomical and astrological Chiron. Chiron was discovered at 5 degrees of Taurus on the 18th of October 1977 by Charles Cowell at Pasadena Observatory. And in retrospect, we look back on previous plates and we can see it in old astronomical plates going back to the late 1890s, but no one knew what it was. Initially, it was thought it was a comet, then it was supposed to be a rogue asteroid, and now it's being called a planetoid. Chiron's got a diameter of about 200, maybe 220 kilometers. That's its diameter, so it's about the size of Wales, maybe Scotland, well, Wales or Ireland, but it's not massive. And it's not been there forever, and it won't be there forever. Its pattern is so irregular. So its orbit is not routine. It has a 51-year orbit, but it performs a little circle inside that orbit every 51 years in a different place every time. So you cannot accurately predict Chiron's orbit the same as you can the other planets. You can get it to within 0.01 of 1%, but you can't get it perfect. Chiron is unusual. At its furthest most point, Chiron intersects with the innermost point of Uranus's orbit. At its nearest most point, Chiron intersects with the outermost point of Saturn's orbit. So Chiron actually comes within Saturn and Uranus's orbits. And bearing in mind that Uranus takes 84 years to go around the sky and Saturn 29, so you get an understanding of how vast Chiron's range is. Its orbit is shaped like a pear almost, or an inverted pear, where instead of the neck going up to a core at the top, a stalk at the top, that stalk is inverted in towards the centre. And because of this, its orbital pattern is rather extreme. For example, Chiron will spend 8 years in Pisces, whereas it will spend 18 months in Libra or Virgo. So the position of Chiron by sign is always going to be basically subsidiary to the position of Chiron by house and particularly by aspect. Aspect is far too long a subject to go into, because if you start talking about Chiron by aspect, you either start talking about abandonment, neglect, and things like that on the negative side, or holism, integration, healing and assimilation on the positive side. Chiron's astrological message is you are who you are, warts and all. Never going to be good enough, always getting better. And that 98% is good enough, because if you had 100%, you'd have wings on your back. The fact that Chiron was only discovered in 1977 adds, in my opinion, to the development of astrology over the last millennia as population and technology and spirituality and consciousness have grown. So certain realizations within the species have become more prevalent, and as that has happened, so the planet in question has been discovered. It's almost causal. And for example, Uranus with revolution in the 1760s, Neptune with mechanical engineering, oil, drugs, etc. in the 1840s, Pluto with psychology and uranium and plutonium in the 1930s, and then Chiron, integration, assimilation and holism just since the late 1970s. And indeed, since the actual naming of Chiron in early 1979, words like holism, aromatherapy, acupuncture, astrology, herbalism, not that it's ever been away, but it's all become much more mainstream, much more accepted. And indeed, this is what Chiron's done. It's brought the opportunity for a much more integrated and holistic perception into the human experience. And by linking the inner visible with the outer invisible planets, I suggest that the rainbow bridge that Chiron provides is now giving us an opening into the integration and assimilation of the conscious manifest visible material with the external, unconscious, subconscious, transpersonal as represented by the outer planets. We're beginning to merge it all together. Perceptive expansion is happening, and it's all down to Chiron. Catch you later.